Hello, PropStat students. In this video, I will go over how to make slide 5. So slide 5, you are looking at the gross income, and that should be in the spreadsheet that you already made right here. So you start by finding the mean, standard deviation, and z-score. So remember that in Google Sheets, mean is average. So you're going to start typing equals, and in all caps, average. It will come up. And for the average, you can either highlight the whole section or you can put in the range. So I want from D2 until D51. So colon D51. Okay, so this is a number that you will use for your mean. It doesn't copy over well, I don't think, because of the formula. So sometimes I just type it out right next to it and then I copy it. You get the idea. All right, and then we need standard deviation. So remember equals STDEV, and then parentheses in the same range, D2, D51. Okay, and then z-score, remember your z-score formula, x minus mean over standard deviation. So x would be the gross for my movie, and my movie is The Princess and the Frog, which is down here. So this is my number here for x. I'm going to copy it. Okay, you can really use any rectangle that you want. So I'm going to do parentheses to keep my numerator together. You can also do this in Desmos. Minus the mean number, and I can see that up here, 140,308, 620, and then divided by the standard deviation, 76,500,000 and 32.79. All right, and there's my z-score negative 0.84. So I put all of that on my slide here, and remember to show your thinking how you got your z-score. For the percentile, I had to count out how many movies mine was better than in terms of gross. And unfortunately, it was not better than a lot of movies. So I'm going down here, I count these movies up, and I counted 10 movies that I was better than. Okay, so 10 out of 50 makes the 20th percentile. For the histogram, we need to create a histogram. We want to make sure that we start at the minimum, we end with the maximum, and that we have 5 even buckets. So one way to do that is we're going to start by highlighting D and insert histogram. Insert chart. And whatever they give you, you want to make it a histogram. Sometimes you have to go all the way to the bottom to find histogram. This has way too many bars, but we will fix it. So one thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we start at the minimum, and we need to go see where the minimum is. So the minimum is down here. I'm going to copy that number, and then go back to editing. All right, and in the histogram chart, go to customize and horizontal axis. And I'll put in the minimum number. Now remember that for the maximum, you need to put in just a little bit over the maximum. So I see my maximum number right here. And I'm going to copy it, but I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. So you could make that 0, 1, or you can make it a 0.5, whatever you think. So that now, see how that pops up? See, without it, you lose that data point, but if you make it just a little bit bigger, it will pop back up for you. Okay? Then we have to deal with the buckets. So for the buckets, we want to divide the range into 5 equal pieces. So it will be this number minus this number, and that will be the range, and then divide that by 5. lost track of that number already. I see, okay. All right, did that work? There we go. So this is how big each bucket should be. So I needed to copy, oh, and it's not going to let me copy that number, is it? I have to type it again. 66, 98, 78, and 55.3. Okay, so we need to copy that number and then get back into editing and customize. And I believe this time we're going to go to histogram. For bucket size, if you look at the drop-down menu, this is not close to what we want at all, but you can just paste in what you want and it should make the buckets that you want. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then of course you need to adjust your title, your x-axis, and your y-axis. So go to chart and axes titles. Chart title, you're going to fix that. Horizontal axis title, fix that. And vertical axis title, fix that. So going back to my sample, I've got the count, I've got the gross, and I've got a title here. And the only other thing that's a little bit tricky is the outliers. So you're going to do some analysis, you're going to do socks, but because there's no spaces between the bars here, it seems like maybe there aren't any outliers. But the problem is there's so much data over here on the left that these over here do end up being outliers. And here's how you're going to find it out. You need to find your quartile 3, and then you need to add to that 1.5 of times the IQR. Now, technically, you could also find outliers with quartile 1 minus 1.5 IQR, but there aren't any outliers on the left here. So we're only going to check the right side. Okay, so let's go find the quartile 1, quartile 3, and the IQR. Okay, so I'm just going to move this out of the way. All right, and then this time what we need are the quartiles. So we're still looking at the same data, but this time I need equals quartile. And I still want D2 colon D51, but you have to tell it if you want the first or the third quartile. So I'm going to put comma 1 parentheses. So that's your first quartile. Then you do the same thing for your third quartile. Equals quartile D2 colon D51 and then comma 3. Okay, and then you can find your interquartile range by subtracting these. So I can say equals, and this would be G11 minus G10. And that's your interquartile range. So again, this one was Q1, this one was Q3, and this one was IQR. Okay, so the formula that we're going to use is we're going to use Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. So Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. And I'm going to put that in here. So equals Q3 is going to be G11 plus 1.5 times, and then G12. I don't want to autofill this time. Okay, so here's my number, 289,382,108. That means any number that's above this is an outlier. So if I'm looking for 289 million, that would be above this one, and so it does look like I have some outliers. And somehow I got a slightly different answer than I got last time, so I'm going to have to check on that. But you can see the process. Take your Q3, and then you're going to add 1.5 times the interquartile range.